Hello friends, welcome to another round of Modern. We have Josh Lee on 4-color Indomitable Creativity versus Cindy's Astoodle playing Esper Reanimator featuring Aether Mage's Touch. That card that Aspiring Spike has been playing in his list that I've had like 12 questions about at the store lately. If you don't know what Aether Mage's Touch does, it is an instant for 2 generic white and a blue. Reveal the top 4 cards of your library. You may put a creature card from among them onto the battlefield it gains at the beginning of your end step. Return this creature to its owner's hand. Then put the rest of the cards revealed this way on the bottom of your library in any order. So what you're going to want to do is in your end step, or your opponent's end step, you're going to want to play this card. Look at the top 4, hopefully hit an Arcana Cruelty, put it into play, and then you get to untap with it, attack with it, and then at the end of the turn it goes back to your hand. It's actually a really cool card. Now, if you're looking for a weird place to pick this up, it is a very cheap card. We don't have any copies at AlternateUniversesLive, however, Wilmington and Holmes might have some. Or you can check your Double Masters Bowl, because it was an uncommon, and I did not know that. So, Cindy is fetching out a second card here. We saw her fetch a Raffine's Tower on turn 1. Now, on the creativity side of things, this is Hartley's deck that he was able to get 12th place with at SCG God in Syracuse. At least I assume this is the exact same list. Hartley plays at our shop, and he's friends with Josh, so I would assume that is what he is playing. Basically, the idea is to get a couple creatures or artifacts on the board, cast Indomitable Creativity with X equaling either 1 or 2, and then you go get Arcana Cruelties and put them into play, get some triggers, and then if your opponent doesn't succumb to that, you untap and attack for massive numbers. So he's going to pitch a Grief here, exiling an Arcana Cruelty. Both of these decks are super cool. And just one of the many things in the format that you could play. Alright, so looking at what we got for the Grief, we got a Spell Pierce, 2 Lightning Bolts, a Boseiju, a Reflection of the Mirror Breaker, and a Wooded Foothills. So he's going to unmark Grave here. This allows her to put a non-legendary card into her graveyard. Notably, Arcana Cruelty is the card that the Reanimator player will put into the yard 90% of the time. The only other times is for other cute reanimation targets, or you can actually put Unburial Rites in the yard, which is cool, because it's a non-legendary card, and that lets you flash it back. I imagine Cindy has a Persist in her hand. As to why she got rid of the Spell Pierce, setting up so she can resolve a Persist on turn 3. Josh, sitting here, still 2 bolts in hand, drawing the Scalding Tarn for turn. Persist targets Arcana Cruelty. Arcana will enter as a 5/5. There will be a trigger on the stack. It being a 5/5 because Persist puts a -1/-1 counter on it.
I wouldn't have even thought about it.
Josh does have the ability to just double bolt the Archon here. Cindy, interestingly, not shocking the Godless Shrine in. I think it's a little bit better to shock it in just to bluff the Ephemerate, in case there is something like a double bolt situation. Especially because you know about the double bolt. But alright, Josh is fetching and shocking here. I'm assuming here comes the double lightning bolt. She could also just have a second Persist. She could just want Josh to expend his lightning bolts now. Right, bolt 1, bolt 2, using the M10 lightning bolt art, which is probably my personal favorite. Alright, here comes Ren and 6. He's got a Google Chrome notification from the Modern subreddit, just going, why does Modern League meta appear to be so much different than other events? which I'm very curious as to what exactly that means. I haven't been following the leagues lately. Right, there comes Persist number 2. Here comes the Archon. Josh is going to sacrifice that red and 6, which I did not realize at first that Archon makes him sack a creature or planeswalker. I really thought it just said creature. Very good Magic card. Very good Magic card. There's a chance you can hear the audio underneath of me asking where the red went.
I've only had creatures on the board.
Alright, Josh discarded Wood Foothills for the effect. Go to fetch. And this is one of those things that, like, I think on average, Reanimator is going to be the quicker Archon deck. However, Josh's sideboard is a lot more impactful, I feel like. Goes and gets a Zayatora's Proving Ground, the Jund Triumph. I'm pretty sure it's Zayatora.
I read it.
Why couldn't they have just called them specific triumphs?
Why do you think we have big dice?
I have to remember all these weird Capenna names.
So what I'm hearing is you need to get that pop-up overlay that Star City has. No.
I want the enhanced features.
Star City is one of the
Alright, cast an Explorer, which is a card I didn't actually know was in the deck, and was kind of surprised about. But I'm here for it. Draw a card, maybe put a land into play. It's not bad. Alright, City's going to draw for turn. Picks up a Tainted Indulgence. There's a Witch's Cottage, which I'm not going to lie to you, I don't exactly know off the top of my head. I'm pretty sure you just put a creature from your graveyard on top of your deck. But we're gonna look it up and we're gonna read it for you. It enters the battlefield tapped unless you control 3 or more swamps. It's the other part of the Mystic Sanctuary cycle, or the swamp part of it. And then when it enters the battlefield untapped, you may put target creature from your graveyard on top of your library. Yeah, that makes sense. Alright, we're gonna Aether Mage's Touch here. We're gonna look at the top 4 cards of the deck. And we're gonna put a Grief onto the board. So he has the cool ephemerates, and I'm jealous. The Japanese art is gorgeous. Not that the original art's not bad, but they're quite nice looking. Takes the Prismari command. It says, I don't care about the Fable of the Bear Parker. Also because it's going to get discarded to the Archon effect anyways. Cracking in for 8 total damage here. Putting him to 1. I think I missed a fetch at some point. Grief is going to return to Cindy's hand.
I take 5. 9.
I think this would be asking if it was 1 or 2 life. Not that either denomination really matters. Josh is going to draw for turn and scoop it up. Cindy will be taking game 1, and we'll be right back with game 2. We're right here with game 2. Rolling right into it. We are resolving some mulligans. You see, Josh has a pre-game effect of a Leyline of the Void, which is wild. I feel like every time I have Cindy on camera, her opponents always have Leyline in game 2. To start vetting people's sideboards, see if they're a Leyline duelist or not. Alright, Josh is going to fetch with a Wood of Foothills here. Probably getting a Triome. I'm going to guess he's going to get Ketria. Nice. I get too much enjoyment out of trying to guess what Triomes people are fetching. I was playing the 4-color mirror at a store championship, and he was like, alright, I'll go fetch a Triome, and I was like, Spar's headquarters? He was like, yeah, actually. I was like, ah, sick. Too much enjoyment. And if any of my customers heard me explaining that story, no, I don't play Magic. Do I routinely tell my modern players that I do not play Magic ever? Yes. Is it very easy to disprove and show that I do play Magic? Yeah, it's pretty easy. Alright, Cindy's going to fetch out the Rafine's Tower. I'm going to be honest with you, at first I wasn't too crazy about the full arts in New Capenna, but they have been growing on me, especially Spar's headquarters. I actually really like the colors on that one. Alright, the Marshflats is exiled because of Leyline existing on the battlefield. Oh, there's Mole Drifter in the deck. Oh, Mole Drifter is such a cool thing to get off of Aether Mage's Touch. You just draw 2 cards during their your end step there, or during their turn, and then you can like attack with it. Then it goes back to your turn. You still have a Mole Drifter to play with. I'm here for it. I wonder if Cindy plays an off-color Triumph in order to get her Prismatic ending up to 4. You could do like a 4-color build where you blue, white, black, green, and splash for like Foundation Breaker as like a way to hit like Rest in Peace and stuff. I don't know if it's worthwhile at all, but I'm interested to see if people have tried it. Though I also just imagine the deck list is so tight nowadays. There's so many cool things to include in the deck. Alright, Evoking a Grief, Pitching Persist. Josh is going to Veil of Summer in response. He's going to get to draw a card and gains Hexproof from black and blue this turn.
I have hexproof. Yeah.
Picks up an Indomitable Creativity for turn. That's pretty solid. This reminds me, I need to buy Indomitable Creativity myself. I keep like getting interested in the deck and be like, yeah, maybe I'll build the deck. It seems like it's fun. And then I forget that I don't own the namesake card. So I kinda can't build it. Alright, fetches out that Zayator's Proving Ground. I will say the art on Aether Mage's Touch is really cool looking. I don't know if the Double Masters art is different than the regular art. The Double Masters copy that I have sitting next to me looks pretty cool. There's a Hard Evidence, going to investigate and make a Crab Clue token. That crab is in a 0/3. And that crab is the best boy. I still really, really want someone to just like alter the crab to look like a detective. That Hard Evidence is in the graveyard. It'll get moved eventually. Plays a Boseiju as a land for turn. One of the best lands currently in Modern. The card is so good. And it's like absurdly stronger than the rest of the cycle. Though I will say, I did get hit with an Iganjo yesterday when playing my coworker, and I forgot that card existed. I like blocked with my Omnath and got Iganjo. I was like, oh shit. That's right. You can do that. Not that the other ones are bad. I actually like Sokuzan and Takanuma a lot. I really just don't really get to play them too often. Cindy, unfortunately, here is just stuck on 2 lands, which will forever be my biggest gripe about Magic. While lands can be really cool and interesting, I always feel bad when somebody gets stuck without lands to play the game. Alright, Josh is fetching a Dwarven Mine here. 1, 2, 3. Another card from that Throne of Eldraine common land cycle. He's going to be able to make a 1/1 dwarf.
This is going to represent my dwarf.
Does not have a dwarf token, so uses the little, like, I think it's like a dog. Unfortunately, it's just unable to be seen. Cast a Transmogrify here for X equals 2. And Cindy is going to scoop it up, unable to beat double Arcana Cruelty, as most decks are kind of just unable to do that. So we'll be right back with Game 3 in just a second, folks.
Has it been released in a product yet? I have pre-game effects.
And we're back with Game 3. We've got Cindy on the play, but there's some pre-game effects with a Leyline of the Void coming out here. Leading on a Martial Arts. Leyline is wild card, man. I have not had the unfortunate experience of playing a graveyard deck and my opponent having Leyline. I've played Dredge and played against people who have Leyline in their deck. They just don't draw it, or they keep a hand that doesn't have it. Yeah. Leylines are interesting. There's a hard evidence on turn 1. Josh is fetching 17. We have an 0-3 and a clue. Hard evidence is such a good card. Like, it's probably the second best common in the entire set. Like, the only thing better than it is Unholy Heat.
Yes, it is.
And, like, honestly, if somebody were to make the argument that they think Hard Evidence is a better card than Unholy Heat, I don't know if I would necessarily disagree with them. Obviously, Unholy Heat being able to kill planeswalkers and creatures with 6 toughness is really strong. But Hard Evidence is 1 mana that gets you 2 things, one of which you can use to replace itself, or to, like, replace the Hard Evidence to draw a card back eventually. And then the 0-3 body on the Crab is really, really big right now. Being able to block Ragavan for days, and then, just, again, sacrificing into Indomitable Creativity, or destroying it with Indomitable Creativity. Or Transmogrify, the card that does get played in that deck.
That is upsetting.
Did you win? Good job. I was in the mirror and I was like, you know I played this card. I played this card last game. Where?
It's in there.
So it was a Bloodstained Mire as a land for turn.
A message.
It's going to fetch you.
Look at you, so angry. How could he have no power? Those things gotta pinch you.
I think we are examining our crab.
Should have been a turtle.
Gets a tapped Watery Grave. One of the cool things actually with Aether Mage's Touch too is that you can, in response to, is it a trigger that puts it back in your hand? I'm assuming it'd be a trigger, but even if it's not a trigger, no, it has to be a trigger. Yeah, so when it goes to trigger to like return itself to the hand, you can always just ephemerate it, and then you just get to keep your creature, which could be the plan for Cindy here, as long as she's able to make land drops. Fortunately, I've seen Reanimator just kind of like not draw lands, and it can be problematic. Fetches a Blood Crypt here. If I remember right, Josh's hand was a little bit weird this game. I remember like looking at it while he was deciding if he wanted to mulligan it or not, and I think he kept it based off the sole fact that he had the leyline, and like the hand wasn't awful, but it's not the ideal curve that you want to see. We're going to sacrifice that clue token to draw a card. Fetches with a Wooded Foothills here, going to 13. Potentially going to 11. I don't know if he plays a basic forest in his deck. Yeah, so he has to be going to 11. He wants to get a stopping ground here. His basic forest just isn't good, because it doesn't work with Dwarven Mine, because you need 3 other mountains. But it needs to be able to cast the Explorer in his hand. Alright, plays extra land for turn because of the Explorer. As a Spell Pierce, an Archon, Transmogrify, Boseiju, and another land that I can't tell. Or what looks like another land. It might not be. Is a Marsh Flats return. So probably going to evoke a Muldrifter here. Instead of going to fetch. Probably just getting a basic off of this. Yep. Gets a basic swamp. Those are really cool looking swamps. It's kind of like Halloween-y. And I'm here for that. Alright, 3 mana evoke that Muldrifter. Gonna draw 2 cards. Jund can't beat that card. Forever one of my favorite Magic moves. It's just 3 mana draw 2, 5 mana draw 2. Jund can't beat it. It's so good. I said he does have Solitude in hand for interaction. One of the cool things that she can do with the Solitude is in response to Transmogrify or Indomitable Creativity, she can evoke the Solitude to exile the thing that's getting targeted. Because at least Indomitable Creativity has to destroy the card in order to work. I imagine Transmogrify also has to. Let's see. Yeah, exile target creature.
It's a little different than the other one. Yeah.
Jordan Craft.
Crap.
Maybe I'll buy some pieces for this deck right now. It's a deck that I've been considering playing for SCGCon Syracuse, for the team event. Though I think I'm just going to play 4-color. Well, I guess they're both 4-color decks. 4-color Omnath. Well, that's the shop that I'm going to for RCQ this weekend. Nifty.
That's what I had to do. Okay.
Wonder if they have pickup in store. There's a Transmogrify. There's the Solitude on the crab.
Did I miss that last fetch on
You
there?
might have missed the Dwarven Mind Fetch.
Because I had it on my page.
4 more. Wow, alright. Nobody has 4 copies of this card. That's upsetting. Do I just pay a couple extra bucks to get them all? I think I just pay a couple extra bucks to get them all from the same place.
Should have attacked for 1. Yeah, get sloppy.
Dwarven Minds as well.
Go.
Alright, the Cindy has a Teferi here. My voice just like kind of died on me. She can. There's a couple like interesting spots, right? Like she could play it, bounce the token, and hope it breaks Josh's hand. Right, there's a Mull Drifter, who's gonna draw 2 more cards here. She could play it to bounce the Leyline. Though I don't like the Leyline play unless you're casting something the turn. Right, attacking it with the Dwarf, doing 1 damage, and the Cindy to 16.
Okay.
There's the Fairy. Josh has a Spell Pierce, so I imagine that's immediately getting sent to the exile. Cindy does have Unmarked Grave and Persistent hand. Unfortunately, just still like not hitting land drops, which is wild because she's drawn 4 cards off of Mull Drifters alone. Okay, there's a Time Raveler. Bounces the Leyline. Josh has a Flusterstorm in hand.
Okay.
So is able to deal with Persist, Unmarked Grave, or Unmarked Grave Persist. The interesting thing is the Ashiok. I think there's actually an argument to cast the Ashiok here. Mill, can you target yourself to mill with Ashiok? I think you can. It's been so long.
Oh, okay.
Actually, that's a lie. I played it in Indy. Why are you... Can you show me the card I'm looking for, TCG player? That would be preferable. Alright. Going to evoke a grief here, pitching a Ashiok. Veil of Summer is going to come out. I'm like pretty certain. Oh my god. This website sucks. Alright. There's a Fable the Maker Breaker coming down. Chapter Ability 1's going to make a 2/2 Goblin Shaman, which is like a $9 token. I think I mention it every time somebody casts Fable the Mirror Breaker on camera, because it's just kind of absurd to me, but it's a thing. So he has the option of persisting out the grief, but it's really not the greatest thing. Josh, I think, is currently just on the hard cast Archon plan right now, which is reasonable. It is something he, in fact, can do. Alright, drops Archon and Flusterstorm, draws 2 cards. Especially at 6 mana. If he has a land for a turn and then attacks with the Goblin, he can play an Archon. Right, cracks in for 3 damage here, puts Cindy to 11. Alright, red and 6 coming out here. Red picking up that Bloodstained Mire. The greatest thing in Josh's deck is that once Fable the Mirror Breaker flips it, you can just use it to copy Archon every turn. And then, because it gives the copy haste, you get the ETB and the attack trigger every turn. Or at least every turn that the game continues going. Alright, 4 mana, recast the Leyline. Using the treasure for the second Black Pip. Okay, persist target grief.
Yeah, thank you. Hold on.
Oh, yeah.
I'll Flusterstorm that.
Josh Flusterstorm's on the persist. Storm count will be 2, so there'll be 2 things targeting the persist here.
So that's exile.
And then persist is exile because the Leyline, grief stays in its spot.
6, right? What you got?
Josh fetches down to 6. Goes and gets his proving ground. Fable flips. We now have a reflection of Kiki Jiki. Counting on how much mana we have, here comes an Archon of Cruelty. Or a land, is that an Archon? Yeah. The Dwarven Mind triggers the mind to make another dude.
Another 1/1.
You have a lot of tokens off camera.
Look. This deck has like 5 different tokens.
The wrong goblin.
I don't want to hear it.
I'll give him credit for the goblin. The goblin token's like $8.
Is it really? Oh no.
I got worried that he was playing that Rakdos scam deck for a moment when I saw the grief. With the
Alright, here comes Arcana Cruelty. We're gonna get that ETB effect. As I'm assuming it's resolving.
Do you have all the black mana required, sir?
Black.
Josh is going to gain 3 life, draw a card. Sydney will lose 3 life, discard a card.
Yeah, that's fine. Resolve.
Sacrifice a non-existent creature.
I'll go to 8. I'll go
The
to...
life totals will both be at 8.
I'll discard...
Have you both?
I go. Yeah, I have you at 8 as well.
Yeah, that's math. That's just how subtraction works.
It's alright.
Discard non-marked grave. And no sacking required.
Right. Okay. Attack for.
Cracks in for a total of
No, I did
4?
it at the end.
Yeah.
Yes. No, you're correct.
2/1/1s and a 2/2.
Attack for 2, trigger a treasure.
Never mind. One of them is definitely summoning sick.
He's only on 1.
Cracks in for 3.
He's a 2/2.
So I'm at 5.
From when you don't have good
Gets a
tokens.
treasure from the shaman or from the goblin trigger.
It's okay. It's excusable.
Yeah, no
So-
longer excusable.
So I'm at 5.
I'm actually.
Yeah, you're at 8. I'm at 5.
I gotta just write over it. That's what I gotta do. That's right.
Josh has another copy of Archon in hand.
I don't even know what that's from.
Oh boy.
Check this out.
Plus his friend targeting
Track.
Arid Mesa, picks it up.
Pass.
On your end step.
And he's going to evoke a Solitude here, getting rid of Archon. Josh is going to go up to 14 health.
6.
Witch's Cottage.
Alright, which is Cottage, trigger, put Grief on top of the deck.
Do that. Past you.
Going to pass the turn here. Plays Arid Mesa's land for turn. Upticks that Ren, picks up that Bloodstained Mire. Now this should be probably the last turn of the game. Unless... So we know Cindy has Aether Mage's Touch in hand, so unless her Aether Mage's Touch is absurdly strong, I think this should be game. 8 mana, hardcast Archon. Do fetch first.
Squirrel is a dwarf.
Makes another dwarf. I think he's using a squirrel token this time. Cast Arcana Cruelty here. Going to have a trigger on the stack if it resolves.
Yeah, I'll go to 2.
Cindy's going to go to 2. Josh is going to go to a life total 16. There we go.
For funsies, I'm gonna give it. I'm
To
gonna copy
activate
it. Make a copy of my cruelty.
Fable of the Mirror Brooker to make a copy
Attack with all
of
this stuff,
Arcana
make
Cruelty.
a copy of my cruelty.
Now it's at this point that Cindy has to respond with the Aether Mage's Touch. Because that trigger is on the stack, she dies.
Sure. Get that.
The Fable's also definitely supposed to be tapped, but... Alright, here comes the Solitude, exiling...
Because I did make the copy before combat.
I think you have to exile with Archon?
I guess I didn't tap it, so yeah.
It has to be in response to either the copy's trigger or the copy. Because the trigger itself will kill us.
So what you could do is copy while I copy it, do what you just did, and then you can actually target the cruelty. I'm okay with that.
Yeah. That is what I intended.
There we go. I'll still attack you for lethal.
Yeah, and I'll block something and die.
Actually, you don't.
All right.
I don't? Oh, I
You
gain
gain life.
life. Okay.
We'll play this.
Alright.
We'll play this
That's
swap
that.
out.
These are the ones that go bottom.
Think we're doing math here.
I do get a treasure token.
Cindy should be able to block the Solitude and only
That's 2.
gain 3 life and go back down to 2.
1, 3 ones and a 2. I'll block the 2. Gain 3. I'll block the goblin.
You're good. It's good.
And I'll take 3, gain 3, so I'll stay at 2.
These are all 1/1s now. Shoot you to 1. And I'll pass you.
Draw for turn. I think Josh might have activated it right a second time that turn. I don't think it matters.
You can try.
In
You
the long
got
run.
something last turn. You survived that last turn somehow.
I'm going to cast a Tainted Indulgence. Going to draw 2 cards here. And doesn't pick up anything that'll do it. Josh is going to take it 2-1 over Cindy. Indomitable Creativity beating Esper Reanimator. Thank you for watching, folks, and have a great rest of your day.